good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, you thirsty bunch of beer drinkers, whenever and wherever you're tuning in from. It's GLB Beer Week. Yes, that's right. GLB Beer Week kicked off last Friday. That's September 27th for you keeping track at home. And we'll run through this week, ending with a big Oktoberfest party at the brewery on Saturday. That's October 5th. There are tap takeovers, pub crawls, beer dinners, sensory classes, run clubs, and so much more. From Thunder Bay to the Toronto Island, or Islands, Ottawa to London, we are bringing beer drinkers together, which is what beer is best at doing. For more info, head over to the website to check out the daily calendar of events, and that website is greatlakesbeer.com. Now that I've fulfilled my contractual obligations to mention GLB Beer Week from the marketing team, let's get to our very special guest. Today on the pod, I'm welcoming my very good friend, my office buddy, and my wonderful colleague, Jen Reinhardt. Jen is the senior sales manager here at GLB, a role she's been in for coming on 2 years now. Jen came to GLB way back in 2014 to get experience in the beer industry while working in publishing. She quickly realized how exciting working in beer was, and still is. And soon she was moving on to a role with Muskoka Brewery in a sales position. But as I always say to her, the GLB love was always there. Jen returned to her first home in 2019 and has quickly reshaped and reinvigorated our sales departments, and the brewery is extremely lucky to have her in our corner. But, and there's a big but, there's a lot more to Jen than just her time with the brewery. A lot more. From her days in publishing to co-founding the Society of Beer Drinking Ladies and a past life as a DJ, Jen has stories to tell about each one, and we're going to jump into all that. But first, it's back. Old Dusseldorf Alt Beer, my favorite beer from our 7-barrel series, has returned for the fall. And it's delicious as ever. So hang tight. We'll be right back with Jen Reinhardt, Senior Sales Manager with Great Lakes Brewery.
There appears to be only one line on this sheet. $50 for a case of Great Lakes Premium Lager. That's it? That's the ad? Okay. Cases of Great Lakes Premium Lager are only $50 every day of the year.
Well, hello there, Jen. We're out of the office. It's good to have you here in the studio. It's early morning. Would you like a beer?
Why not?
So we brought a couple beers. I'm drinking the Old Dusseldorf, but I figured, it's morning. You might want a nice, fresh Octopus Wants to Fight. I'm joking. It's Fighting Weight, the low-cal IPA. You
That's
into that?
Perfect. That's perfect for this time of day.
Nice. So we talked about getting you onto the show for a long time now. And we're 19. This is the 19th episode, so 18 episodes in. But I'm glad we finally made it happen. Even though we sit right next to each other and we talk all the time, this is now we're going to get the listeners to know who Jen is. You excited to be here?
I'm really excited to be here.
You got a lot of stories to tell?
I have stories.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's get right into it. So I mentioned a bit of your background to open up the show, giving listeners a small taste of who you are. But in your own words, what can you tell us about Jen?
Well, I've been in beer for over 10 years now. I started with home brewing and networked with other breweries and people in the industry at that time. And through that, I was able to make connections and start my career in beer.
And so that's your beer start, but who is Jen?
Jen, I am a hardworking beer lady. I mean, I'm very focused on my career. I've got 2 corgi doggies.
They're adorable.
At home. Love cooking, love barbecuing. My husband has 6 barbecues. So we do a lot of cooking and hanging out in the backyard.
Yes, you sure do. And the food she brings into the office, sometimes the smell is just, I wish a John was in my life too. You mentioned you got your start with home brewing, and see, again, we've known each other for a long time, and I always forget that part, that there was even before the GLB time in 2014. So you're sitting in this chair today as senior sales manager at GLB, but that's not where you started with the company, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Basically my career started with the home brewing and blogging about it. And through that, I did attend beer festivals and start to meet people in the industry. And at that time, I met Erica Campbell at one of the beer fests at Brickley Church. And her and I got together and started to discuss, how do I make my way into the industry? And at that time, she was doing LCBO tastings for Great Lakes. And I decided that's something I really want to start doing. So she connected me with the team, and I was able to start in 2014 doing tastings and events with Great Lakes.
But what were you doing? Like, what was your career to get you into that? Like, I want to get into the beer industry.
Right. So I was in publishing for 15 years in roles such as managing editor, production manager. I worked on trade magazines and on magazines like Toronto Life. And in that industry at that time was booming when I started, and then was slowly declining. So, every year-end meeting, it was like we weren't meeting our budgets and things were slowing down. So it was a career that kind of chose me right out of university. I didn't choose to do that or study to do that. So I wanted to get into a career that I actually chose and a place where I wanted to be. So I was willing to hustle and do the work to be able to break my way into the beer industry.
So in 2014, you met Erica, who, yes, was working for Great Lakes as a part-time tasting a beer ambassador, and you came over to Great Lakes. And what was that first role? What were you doing for us then?
I was doing the LCBO tastings. I was helping you out at bars when you do, beer and cheese events or chocolate and beer events. I was working at the beer festivals on the weekends. I was lucky enough that my boss in publishing at that time was okay with me working from 7 a.m. to 3 so that I could leave and get to the LCBO by 3:30 and then work the other half of the day sharing Great Lakes beer with
slinging
customers.
pints and samples. We talk a lot about this, as people who've been in the industry a long time and have seen a lot of shifts of, culture and work patterns. What were some of the key lessons you learned about working in beer from your time as an ambassador for the brand?
I think the key lesson would be just how important customer interaction is. You need to get in front of people and have that face-to-face interaction to be able to sell the brand and the product. Yeah.
And what would you say to someone who wants to one day, whether they're 19 or they're 40, 50, what's one thing that you might give a career, like who's looking for a career change to get them into beer? What are some tips and or advice? Because what you did in my eyes is you decided that this is the career I wanted to go in, and instead of saying, well, I have this publishing background, maybe I could get into marketing, or you really wanted to get in on the ground level. And now you're sitting in this position as senior sales manager overlooking all of our sales department, all of our sales staff. And so it's obviously worked for you. But any tips you'd give to someone who wants to get into the industry from either a career change standpoint or just, hey, beer looks like fun, I'm going to get into this?
I think the key piece to any career change is networking. There was a time in my life when I thought I wanted to get into fashion, so I joined a fashion organization and did their communications for 2 years. When I wanted to get into beer, I decided I was going to do what it takes. I was going to get out, meet people in the industry, get to know what types of jobs are out there, and see where I could transfer my skills. And I attribute a lot of my success in the industry to the women that supported me through SOBDL and helped me, find my way and meet the right people to build my career.
And so we're going to move into your current position now. Let's talk a little bit about that. So you're the senior sales manager. What do you do? What is that role?
Well, at Great Lakes, we call ourselves a smaller, bigger brewery, or a bigger, smaller brewery. So there's a lot of hats that I wear. My main responsibility is managing my relationships with LCBO, beer store, grocery, and now convenience. So working with head office, getting our brands listed. I plan our programming and merchandising within LCBO, so NDALs and LTOs, And
LTOs are limited time offers for those out there not in the industry.
And then manage a team of amazing sales reps that are out on the field, figuring out priorities and meeting with them, going on ride-alongs, seeing what's going on within the field.
So I'm going to talk about the team in a second, but just to point out that, so that's what, you're looking after the relationships with those retail channel people. But as someone who's been in the position for a while, it's about managing our staff too, and their expectations. And you've done a great job with that, but we'll touch on that in a second. Today's retail marketplace has changed a lot since 2019. When you first started in 2014, it was in 2015, we got the grocery. And then when you came in 2019, or back to us in 2019, the whole retail channels were shifting, and things have changed so much with convenience over the last number of months. How have you adapted to this ever changing and will continuously change landscape?
I think staying on top of what's going on in the market, there's lots of great tools and resources to see what's coming up, what changes are happening. When I got to Great Lakes, the sales reps were mainly making calls, and there wasn't as many reps on the road. And when the LCBO built a portal that orders came through, everybody hit the road. So we organized territories and got everyone out in the field. But I think the big piece to being able to manage all the change is just being knowledgeable about where this change is happening and then building a plan around how we're going to tackle that.
And one of the things that I've noticed over the last number of years is the work you've done with the beer store. We've always had this amazing relationship since the year 2000 for Great Lakes or so with the LCBO. But it's just been in the past number of years, the beer store, and that was something that you undertook to say, let's try to expand our presence in the beer store, and can maybe just shed a little bit of light on how successful that's been and what kind of brands we have there and why opening up that market for a brewery like Great Lakes just made sense.
Yeah, I mean, from my years at Muskoka, I understood that the beer store is an important part of the business. And our brands really do speak to that channel, when it comes to value. The fact that you're able to buy our cases at, lagers $50 a case and Canuck and Pompous are $60. That, if you can't make it to the brewery, there's a lot of people across Ontario that would like to take advantage of those prices. So being able to grab a full case of Canuck in Thunder Bay or Ottawa has been a big region, and it's been quite successful for us increasing our footprint in the beer store. It
really has. And it was one of the surprising things for me on how it just took off, and kudos to you and the team on that. So I told you I was going to talk about the team, and it's a humble brag. This is a humble brag. We have the best sales team in the industry, in my opinion, and I think you'd agree with me here. Where we're getting calls all the time about how good the folks on our team are. They work extremely hard. They're highly organized and focus on freshness, and they work together as a core group. But that doesn't just come of that. That's through good management as well too. But tell me how you shaped the team. You mentioned that it was a lot of phone calls originally, then it was out on the road. But let's talk about your leadership style and how you were able to put the team together and succeed in the marketplace.
I always say that my leadership style is leading with kindness and support. I have been told in the past from employees that have come and gone that they like that I lead from the front line. I'm not above any job, and I'm always willing to step in and be there right alongside my team. I think I do have the best team in the business, and I've had incredible people that have worked for me and have left. I get a lot of inspiration from them. They're committed, hardworking, they have amazing ideas, and we're just such a supportive, collaborative group. Everybody's there for each other, and I think that's almost contagious within the team. New people that come in are happily surprised at how connected everyone is and how everyone has that attitude that they're willing to do what it takes to get the job done.
I love the healthy competition too, the fun competition. So if we have a beer coming off the line that's going to an LCBO, the reps are fighting each other, like not physically, but to see who can be the first one to come into the brewery, grab some cases and deliver it to an LCBO to get it the first on the shelf. So that's always amazing to see that camaraderie, but also that healthy competitive spirit that's alive and well in the brewery. Leading with kindness. That's something that we've talked about recently that you do excel at. Why is it that you think that's how you manage the staff?
I think because I've been led with, by people in the past in a really aggressive, not so great work environment.
I'm sorry.
And coming from that, you learn, well, this doesn't inspire me, and you don't need to lead that way. I did a course for women in leadership at U of T, and, it kind of validated that this leading with kindness is an actual way to lead. And, it was just something that came to me instinctually. I also had a great leader at Muskoka, Paul Guerrero, who that's how he led, and he inspired me that you could be quite successful by talking to people, communicating. It doesn't mean that people just get away with everything, but it means you say you're close, you're involved, and you talk through things and come up with a plan to get through if there's any issues or anything. So,
yeah, one of the things too, I think that you're good at, and I'm pumping the tires right now, is that you are, as a manager, you just get out of the way. You give them the tools to succeed. You're not looking over their shoulder every step of the way. Is that something that you factored into your leadership style? That
absolutely. I mean, we have incredibly talented people on our team that know what they're doing. I make sure that I check in and say, hey, I'm here. Are you good? But they'll let me know if they need something. They know what they're doing. They're the best for that reason. And I've been micromanaged as well in the past, and I don't think it made me a better employee. So I like to give people independence.
They're removing the obstacles to allow them to succeed. But this role is a very important role in the brewery. We touched on that. You touch on a number of different retail partners. And there's a lot of moving parts, and things are rapidly changing in this industry. Recently, we were at a summit for convenience. We were recently at the LCBO LC Awards. What keeps you awake at night? Hopefully, nothing should when it comes to the job. But is there something about the position that keeps you awake at night?
Well, do you have 2 hours? What keeps me
when
awake?
We go back to the office, we can talk it.
I think, I love to always be on top of things and have everything under control. And I think sometimes things aren't in our control with all this fast, rapid change and convenience and everybody having to just try to make it happen in a way shorter time span. Not everything is going to go as planned. So I do wake up and think about that at times, and then I think, well, I need to be flexible, and we can always figure this out and get through it tomorrow.
No one's dying from a missed delivery or something like that, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, the fast changing pace. A lot of customers might not even understand the complexities of moving the deadline from January 1st, 2026 for convenience to September 5th, 2024. Distribution, extra volume needed, extra staff, extra cartons, extra cans, extra time with all the meetings to meet with the various stakeholders. It was a big it was a big change, and it created a lot of turmoil, but you handled it very well, and you got us through to the other side. So I'm glad you can sleep at night. That's good. I want to pivot. I think that's becoming the word of this podcast. Pivot to another topic, and that's the Society of Beer Drinking Ladies. It's very important in the history of your beer career. I want to know all about it. I want to know, you were a co-founder. why did you need that? Walk us through the whole exciting chapter of your beer career with SOBDL.
Well, I spoke to meeting Erica at the beer festival. And from there, we decided to sit down and have a chat because she had an idea to start a networking group for women in the industry. There wasn't a lot of women in beer at that time, but we wanted to get everyone together and be able to share ideas and experiences and create a space for that. So we put up ticket sales on Eventbrite. We were supposed to do a bottle share at Jamie's house, actually. Jamie Dobbs. And we took our eyes off the Eventbrite, and all of a sudden we had sold 100 tickets. So we realized that the need wasn't only in the industry, that women were looking to find a place to drink craft beer, talk to each other, share ideas. I had a history in event planning through DJing. I had DJed for 5 years at Toronto bars and restaurants. So I had the know-how how to promote an event, how to get a bar to allow us to come in there and use their space. So that, and I also DJed we had epic dance parties at the beginning. So, we started this, we did it monthly for many, many years. Erica was well connected, so she brought in Ren Navarro, Magenta, Jamie Dobbs, an incredible, inspiring group of women. And together we came up with a name, came up with ideas for events, and it just kept growing.
And it's a neat fact that at one point or another, all 5 co-founders, is everyone considered a co-founder, the 5 that you mentioned? Yeah. So all 5 co-founders worked at GLB at some point or other in their career, whether it be a tasting or Ren was working kind of events and inside office sales, and Magenta, she was working tastings for us as well too at one point. So so why do you think it was necessary to create SOBDL?
I think that there wasn't as much of a space for women at that time. There was a few legends in the industry, like Helen and Paula. But
we got to give last names. So Paula
Harridge
and Helen Sheedy.
Right.
Helen Sheedy is a legend in this industry. Sybil Taylor from Steam Whistle. So yeah, but I understand what you're gonna say, I think.
Yeah. So we needed to just get together, share ideas and experiences, and help each other develop our careers and grow. Because of SOBDL, I met Kristen McDonald, who then, understood that I needed to get my foot in the door and encouraged me to apply for a position at Muskoka. In order to transition between careers, I had to kind of take a pay cut and kind of really hustle. But she said, come in, and you'll, within 8 months I was a sales rep. And then
you're doing scouting before with them?
Yep. Beer scouting, which was an incredibly fun job. Just coming up with creative ways to get your beer out to people, whether it's a tasting at a clothing store or an idea for a beer dinner at a bar. Yeah,
we used to do at Great Lakes. We used to do the Lululemon shop on Ossington. We used to have beer in there, and we'd do samplings and stuff, and that's why I became a Lululemon clothing wearing.
That's where it started.
That's where it started. So sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So necessary to create SOBDL.
Yeah, so it was necessary, I think, for us. Also, we wanted to give back to charity, and so we partnered with the Canadian Women's Foundation. So it was a way to bring women together in a supportive network to encourage, career growth and friendship building, and just a place where, everyone was comfortable, safe, and, we had a really good time.
I remember one of the events at the Brickworks. I can't remember if it was like a one-off big party that you guys did, but I was luckily enough to work it, and we sponsored it, I believe. And I think it was before your time. It was before your time at Great Lakes, but we had red carpet rolled out. We had the big tents up. We did a little lounge. And I just remember the vibe at that festival, how positive it was and how friendly it was. And it wasn't about drinking as much. It was about the networking and about just, like you said, being safe, but talking to each other about stories. And then at the end of the day, the crux was there's beer here as well too. So what would you say you're the most proud of during your SOBDL days?
I think it was just the people I met. I think before then I wasn't as much of a networker, and it allowed me to develop those skills. And I mean, I'm proud of everybody I came across. I had some we called them volunteer managers that I still speak to this day that were, they gave their time away just to be connected and close to SOBDL. And I think I'm quite proud of that.
So SOBDL started around 2014?
Yeah.
Okay. And they've done you and the 4 other co-founders did an extremely great job of bringing people together to drink in a safe, inclusive environment, talk, network, as you mentioned. The industry has changed over that timeline to present day. Do you think there's still a need for an organization to do what you guys did, or do you think you succeeded in your goal of bringing awareness to the industry about just opening up the barriers that were once really prevalent?
I think that the beer industry has come along, and I think there's always a need for a space where people can connect.
In the hustle and bustle of your job, have you had time to contemplate what's next? Like another 20 years at Great Lakes. Okay. I get that, but like what's next for you?
After the next 20 years at Great Lakes, my hope is to eventually move out of town and do something that's kind of a retirement plan, which would be, opening a bodega or supporting my husband's passion for barbecuing.
Why does he have 6 barbecues?
Because there's a barbecue for every need. You're smoking. You've got to have a special barbecue to make chicken, a special grill. He actually just ordered a pit, which is arriving next week, where he can do 8-hour smokes of brisket. And there's a need for sure. Do
you have a guest room at your house? Because I might move in. So the bodega. So we sit together, and this is news. So breaking news here: Jen's going to open a bodega. When you're going to have like craft beer. Yeah.
That would be the idea.
That's
to share my passion for food and beer, while supporting his creative flair in barbecuing.
I love it. I'm already sold. I'll be your first customer. Can you give some teasers about what customers can expect from GLB in 2025 from a retail perspective?
We will have 6 brand new SKUs in LCBO, which is
6.
6.
Oh my gosh.
It's a big year. The team's very excited. They're excited about the launch of these.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited.
There you go.
Of these new brands. I'll give you one tiny hint, and it has something to do with an octopus.
Like the year of the octo?
Like the year of the octo.
Are we bringing that? Is that like maybe a new thing that people will refer to 2025 as the year of the octo?
They may start to say that as the year goes on.
I like that. Oh, so that's okay. That is a tease. That's a very good tease. Anything else that you can think about for 2025 that maybe a goal of yours that I'm putting you on the spot right now to share with the listeners?
I think one goal that we've had year after year is to have a big Sunnyside launch party. Mm-hmm. Now that we have Rob Mora in the licensee seat, I think we'll be able to partner together more next year, both licensee and LCBO launches, to get customers out and create more of an impact in the market.
And where would you want to do a big launch of Sunnyside?
On the Island Cafe.
Nice. All right. Good shout out to our friends at the Island Cafe, which, as of right now, we have a 10-day pop-up on the Island Cafe. So if you go over to visit them, and Zora, who was, I think, episode 4 or 5, just after the Island Cafe unfortunately burned down on St. Patrick's Day, they have a pop-up location, and it's going to be all Great Lakes, or it is all Great Lakes right now. So head over to Island Cafe and check that out. So 2 very good teasers for 2025. Now, we have 2 questions from our fans before we get into the rapid fire questions. So Kevin R., he asks, who is the easiest retail channel partner to work with? The beer store, the grocery stores, LCBO, or convenience stores?
Kevin R., that's a tough question. I think all of the channels have their challenges and have the good things about them. And I would say, convenience is brand new to me, so I'm learning that as I go. And then I think they're all equally great to work with.
Convenience has been a whirlwind. So yes, as you said, you're still kind of navigating, and the whole team's kind of navigating what it will come, because it's September 5th was when it launched, right? So so far Circle K has been great, and a lot of the independents, and we're busting our asses to get beer out to the market, but I guess we will see. The LCBO has always been great partners, and I want to give a shout out to Neil. Let's give a shout out to Neil Bovin. Jessica P wants to know about your dogs. You mentioned your dogs, so that's a good, I guess you post a lot about your dogs?
Yes, I have.
Do you know Jessica P? I don't know who Jessica P was, but yeah.
Not too sure, but it's a good question, Jessica. I have 2 dogs, Finnegan and Winston. They're both, one's a full corgi and the other one's a mini Australian Shepherd corgi. The reason we got the mini Aussie corgi is because our first corgi's a bit lazy. He doesn't like to go on walks, and so we needed a bit more of an energetic dog to encourage him to move.
So this was a strategy.
It was a strategy. Also, he seemed a little lonely. He's very social. And it's working. He's lost a couple pounds. Nice. And he's less lonely now that we have Winston.
It's always amazing, listeners, when Jen brings Winston, and in the past Finnegan, but when Winston comes into the office, he is a little ball of energy, and it's great.
Yeah, people are asking me every other day when he's coming back.
I'm his favorite, just an FYI. Okay, so Jen, thank you for that. We're gonna take a quick ad break, and then when we come back, I have some rapid fire questions for you. You good to go?
Good to go.
How's that fighting weight tasting?
It's very good, this batch.
This old Dusseldorf, it's everything you want in an alt beer. So hang tight. We're going to come back with some rapid fire questions with Jen.
Okay.
Here we go. When you hear the music, go for it.
Will do. The GLB Brew Pub. 20 taps of the finest craft beer. Amazing food like burgers, pizza, Taco Tuesday. And check the retail store for amazing GLB beer, merch, and accessories. Open 11 to 11 at 11 Lower Jarvis Street, right near Sugar Beach. We know where you're going tonight. The GLB Brew Pub. A great place to see, the best place to be.
Nailed it.
We're back with Jen, and she just guzzled half of her fighting weight, which is always great to see, because she was nervous about these rapid fire questions. So we're going to hold her feet to the fire. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
What beer have you been enjoying recently?
Well, if you know me, you know it's Canuck.
Okay.
Because that's my go-to.
Now name a non-GLB.
I recently had a Slake beer that I enjoyed. I really like that brewery. And their Hatch, is it called?
Yep.
The bit of a lighter IPA, the pale ale.
They're great friends of ours, and we visited them a couple years ago. You recall that visit with the pig?
They treated us very well, and we got to meet some farm animals.
Yes, which I understand that pig is no longer with them.
That's sad.
But I heard he was delicious. Name your celebrity doppelganger.
That's a tough one. I haven't had people say that I look like anyone. I mean, when I was younger, I heard Julia Stiles. I think the movie was 10 Things I Hate About You or something. I heard that a few times, but that's about it.
Okay. Name a person or brewery in the industry that inspires you or continues to inspire you. That has or continues to inspire you.
I find that question very tough because
There's so many
people to name. In the past, it's all of those women that supported me and helped inspired me to build my career. From a leadership perspective, I mentioned Paul Guerrero, who helped me build my leadership style. And then presently, it would be my team because they inspire me daily with their perseverance and hard work.
Amazing. She's got a career in politics too, maybe bodega and small town politics. Best time and place for a beer?
Well, obviously, in my backyard with my 2 corgis and John cooking something on the 5 or 6 barbecues.
I thought you were going to say 10 o'clock while we're recording a podcast, but that's the second good. Answer.
Second best.
If you could only drink one beer for this is a Great Lakes question. If you could only drink one beer for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Canuck.
No hesitation. Yeah. So do you like the line? Should we bring that back? If a Great Lakes staff member went to give blood, they'd have to pull a pint of Canuck before they got to the bloodstream.
I feel like the team now, there's a variety of favorites.
Yeah.
So.
Favorite place to grab a beer in Toronto?
I'd have to say Great or Good. It's not too far from our house, and it's amazing to just go in, try something new, and get a slice of pizza.
Favorite bar in the world?
In the world, I would have to say there's a bar in Fort Lauderdale called Laser Wolf. You walk into it, and it's this kind of sort of dive bar that has a ton of craft beer. And then you go out the back door, and you're in a courtyard where there's vintage shops and live music, and
That's cool.
You're under the lights. It's a pretty cool experience.
A lot of people that you talk to in craft beer, when you ask them their favorite bar in the world, it's usually not the ones you'd expect. It's not like, oh yeah, this one had like 40 taps of the world's rarest beers. It's like the dive bar that has one craft beer or a bottle of something that they just love. So that's cool. And that's in Fort Lauderdale, you said?
It is, yeah. It's by the brewery Invasive Species, just on the other side.
Sounds like a cool spot.
Yeah.
And your last question in the hot seat, Jen, best hangover cure?
For me, it's probably water.
She broke it, Mike. Mike Boone, the guy behind the mics here. Water. Okay.
I drink a lot of water.
Okay, Jen, that was awesome. It was fun to get you out of the office, as I said earlier, and talk shop in this context. I say this in sincerity, even though we've known each other for so many years and we sit together every single day and talk nonstop. I think I've learned a little bit more about you than I did, an hour ago. So I think our listeners will thoroughly enjoy this conversation and getting to know you more and all the work that you've done at Great Lakes and in the industry with SOBDL is it's just been amazing to sit here and chat with you about it. So thank you very much, and we'll see you back at the office.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cheers.
At Bossa Nova, we have more than 400 products you won't find at the LCBO. Our craft beer comes from local faves and legendary producers like Driefonteinen, Bruton, and Hitachino. Our wines are the ones sommeliers bring into better restaurants, rarely available to take home. We have Basque cider, Normandy cider, Italian, Californian, as well as the finest from Ontario. Next door, relax and enjoy our outstanding selection in the newly opened Bar Bossa Nova. Bossa Nova in Roncesvalles Village. We've got a lot of stuff you're gonna love.
Cole Racecombs returns for another edition of Cole's Notes. And today he'll be talking about MASH. And not the television show that your grandparents watched, but the very first step when you brew a beer into a certain vessel. Take it away, Cole.
Thanks, Troy. Hi there. Welcome back to another Cole's Note segment. Today we're going to dive into what the mash is and why it's so important to the brewing process. So like Troy said, the mash is the very first step when you brew a beer, and it all happens inside a large vessel called the mash tun. Inside the mash tun, we mix up our ground malt called grist with hot water until it is evenly wetted and moist. The purpose of this is to extract sugars such as maltose, maltotriose, and dextrins from the starches naturally found in the grist. We don't want the water to be too hot though, otherwise it will kill the enzymes responsible for breaking down the starch molecules, and we won't be able to get sugar from our mash. Hold on, I thought we were talking about sugars. What's an enzyme? An enzyme is a protein compound which promotes chemical reactions. The two main enzymes that we work with in the mash are alpha amylase and beta amylase. Beta amylase breaks down the tips of large starch molecules into maltose, the main sugar source in beer and food for our yeast. Alpha amylase breaks down the starch at random points, creating some maltose, but also maltotriose and dextrins of assorted sizers that are not fermentable by our yeast. To better understand what's going on here, think of starch as a large tree. Alpha amylase are the chainsaws, chopping down assorted sizes of branches off of the tree. Beta amylase are small clippers, chopping up these branches and other parts of the tree into smaller pieces. The enzymes also work better at different temperatures. Beta amylase functions best between 60 and 65 degrees Celsius, while alpha amylase functions best around 70 degrees Celsius. Remember that fermentable sugars are directly proportionate to the alcohol in a beer. So, by adjusting the temperature in our mash, we can affect how much starch is turned into these fermentable sugars by the enzymes, which will be converted into alcohol, and how much residual unfermentable sugars are left, which will contribute to the body and flavor of the beer. The best part is that all of these starches and enzymes are found naturally in the grist, making it a one-stop fermentation shop. Who knew that science could taste so good?
I did, because you tell us every week, Cole. Thank you very much.
No problem, Troy. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Around the industry.
Big story in the news about the LCBO as 7 of the largest spirit agencies are suing the provincial liquor board. Josh Rubin of the Toronto Star, and I should say former beer writer for said publication, outlined the details in a great article last week. The 7 companies account for roughly, and this is crazy, 70% of the spirits sold at the LCBO. And they are suing over pricing disputes related to when the LCBO began enforcing a contract clause guaranteeing the provincial or the LCBO the lowest wholesale price in Canada. So more on that to come over the next couple of episodes for sure. It will be key to keep an eye on that. In other LCBO news, on Thursday, September 26th, the LCBO held their 30th annual LC Awards in Toronto at the beautiful Liberty Grand. The LCs recognize past year accomplishments and honor partnership, excellence, and innovation. GLB has won it a couple times over the years, but congratulations to our friends at Bellwoods and Mascot for taking home an LC each. It was great to see Aaron, who will be the next guest on Between Two Fermenters, so we'll have something to talk about then. Unfortunately, some more closures to share with you, which is getting to be a frequent mention on the show. Humble Beginnings in Ingleside and Flyby Brewing in Trenton have both announced they are shuttering via post on social media. That brings the total to approximately 10 closures 10 closures this year. After the very successful Keep Craft Beer Local campaign last spring, the OCB are coming back and preparing another grassroots campaign to show the government just how important tax changes are to our industry. So if you've been a frequent listener to this podcast, you're probably like sick and tired of me talking about the OCB and taxation, but it's still the biggest thing on our agenda, and hopefully we drive that message home and get some much needed modernization and relief for 2025. And speaking of the OCB, and the last point and around the industry this week, the annual Ontario Craft Brewers Conference is right around the corner. It takes place November 6th and 7th in Hamilton. The sessions are coming together very nicely. The marketplace will be packed with vendors, and brewery representatives from across Canada will be together under one roof. Go to OntarioCraftBrewers.com and purchase your tickets there. And that's it. That's all, folks. Episode 19 with Jen Reinhardt leading with kindness, has moved from the mash tun to the fermenters. Today's episode was fueled by cans of Old Dusseldorf Alt Beer and Fighting Weight Local IPA, which you can find online at greatlakesbeershop.ca or at both GLB retail locations. You can visit the brewery at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard in Etobicoke or grab some delicious eats and fresh pours at our brew pub at 11 Lower Jarvis Street in Toronto. If you have any content you'd love to hear us discuss on the show, or you have guest ideas, because we have some good ones coming up. As mentioned, Aaron from Mascot. We have Paul Dickey coming on. We have Michael Hancock from Denison's. But shoot us a message at podcast@greatlakesbeer.com. Until next time, please remember to keep tipping your glass of fresh GLB in the right direction. Supporting local never tasted so good.
To learn more about what's happening at Great Lakes Brewery, visit greatlakesbeer.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter or follow Great Lakes Beer on your favorite social media platforms.